Brave women who changed the world. True stories that shocked history. The woman who defied fear. When the world said no, they warned her, they threatened her, but they never expected her next move. No one remembers the exact moment fear entered her life. Fear had always been there, quiet, invisible, waiting like a shadow clinging to the corners of her childhood. She remembered sitting on the cold kitchen floor as a girl, watching her mother argue quietly with a man who had more power than sense, and realizing then that speaking could change nothing, and yet that silence could destroy everything. She was born into a world that had already decided her limits, not because she lacked intelligence, not because she lacked courage, but because she was a woman from a young age. She learned a dangerous truth: the world rewards obedience, not bravery. Her family taught her to stay quiet. Her teachers taught her not to challenge authority. Society taught her one rule above all others: don't stand out, but something inside her refused to accept that rule. She would often hide under her blanket at night, with a small notebook and pencil, drawing maps of imaginary lands where she could run free and speak. Without fear, she imagined herself climbing mountains and rivers and crossing oceans where no one could tell her what to say or think. At night, while others slept peacefully, she lay awake listening to the stories whispered in shadows, stories of women who dared to speak and disappeared, stories of dreams crushed by fear, stories no one wanted to remember, and yet she remembered everything. She remembered the exact shape of her grandmother's hands and the stories of the women in her family who had been silenced by duty, by fear, by tradition. She noticed injustice the way others noticed, whether casual, normalized, ignored. Men spoke loudly, women listened quietly. Decisions were made behind closed doors, doors she was never invited to open. But curiosity is dangerous, and courage is even more dangerous. The first time she questioned authority, the room went silent. People didn't argue, they stared, because questioning wasn't allowed. That silence taught her something important: fear controls people more effectively than violence. From that moment on, she understood the real enemy wasn't power, it was fear. Years passed. Pressure grew. She watched brave women punished while cowards were promoted. She watched truth buried under comfort. She watched lies rewarded, and every time she told herself, stay quiet, stay safe. But safety came at a cost: the slow death of her conscience, the gnawing ache of silence that whispered at her every moment. She remembered a teacher once telling her that good girls obeyed, and yet even then, she had felt an ache in her chest and a spark of rebellion that refused to die. One day she was given a choice. It wasn't dramatic, no guns, no shouting, no headlines. Just a single moment, a moment where silence would protect her, and speaking would destroy everything she had built. Friends warned her, family begged her, powerful voices whispered threats disguised as advice. This isn't your fight. You'll lose everything, no one will protect you. They were right, but they missed one thing: she wasn't asking for protection. She was preparing for war. That night, she didn't sleep. She walked through her apartment, feeling every corner like a battlefield. She replayed every memory where she had hidden her thoughts and the shame she had carried for years. She knew that once she spoke, there would be no turning back, no applause, no guarantees, only consequences. As the sun rose, she looked at herself in the mirror, and for the first time she wasn't afraid of losing her future. She was afraid of losing herself. She was afraid of being swallowed by the world without a trace. She thought of her younger self in the notebooks she had filled with silent rebellion. She took a breath and made the decision that would change the world. What she said next would place a target on her back and expose a truth powerful people would kill to protect the woman who defied fear when the world said no. The room wasn't loud. That was the first thing she noticed. No shouting, no chaos, just a heavy silence, the kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. She stood there, surrounded by people who believed they controlled the future. Men in suits, women trained to agree, smiles carefully. Practice. This was not a place where truth survived. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from clarity. She knew exactly what would happen next. Once she spoke, there would be no undoing it. No apology could erase it. No explanation would soften it. Truth doesn't negotiate. She took one slow breath, and then she spoke. The words were calm, measured, almost gentle, but they landed like a bomb. Faces froze, eyes widened. Someone coughed too loudly. Because what she said wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. She named what everyone pretended not to see. She exposed decisions made in secret. She questioned motives no one was supposed to question, and in that moment, something shifted. Power hates exposure. One man leaned back in his chair, smiling, but his eyes weren't smiling. His mind raced as he calculated how to contain the situation. Another thought of past failures of other women and how easily the world had silenced them. Another scribbled something on paper without looking up. Someone else checked their phone, already preparing damage control. No one responded right away. Silence again. Then came the first warning, disguised as concern. "You should be careful with statements like that." She nodded. Then came the second, colder, "You don't fully understand the consequences." She nodded again, but inside, she was calm because she finally understood something most people never do. Fear loses its power the moment you stop obeying it. She had crossed the invisible line, and everyone in that room knew it. The meeting ended quickly after that. Too quickly, people avoided her eyes. Old allies disappeared into hallways without a word. By the time she reached her car, her phone was already vibrating. Unknown numbers, voicemails left without messages, emails marked urgent. That night, the pressure began. A friend called, not to congratulate her, to warn her, "They're talking about you." Another message came in. Anonymous, "You don't know what you've started." She locked her doors, pulled the curtains shut, and for the first time since speaking, fear returned. Not fear of consequences, fear of how far they were willing to go. She remembered stories of women in her family who had been silenced by fear, and it made the stakes feel even heavier. Because history teaches one brutal lesson. When brave women speak the truth, the world doesn't always listen. Sometimes it hunts. The days that followed were worse. Her work was questioned, her character was attacked, stories appeared, twisted, inaccurate, cruel. They didn't debate her facts. They attacked her credibility. That's how power survives. Friends distanced themselves, invitations stopped coming, meetings were canceled indefinitely. Isolation is a weapon, and it was working. Late one night, she sat alone in her apartment staring at her phone. She could still stop this. All she had to do was say one sentence. "I misunderstood." One sentence, and her old life would return. Comfort, security, silence. Her finger hovered over the screen. That's when she realized something terrifying. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about every woman who stayed silent before her, and every woman watching now. If she backed down, the message would be clear. Speak up, and you will be destroyed. She put the phone down and made a second decision, even more dangerous than the first. She would not just speak once, she would keep speaking. The next morning she went public, not loud, not dramatic, just undeniable documents, facts, names. The reaction was immediate. Support flooded in from strangers, hate followed. Just as fast. She was called brave, she was called reckless, she was called worse. But something else happened, something no one expected. Other women started stepping forward, quietly at first. Then louder. Stories that had been buried for years surfaced, patterns emerged, and suddenly it wasn't one voice anymore. It was many that scared them more than anything, because silencing one woman is easy. Silencing thousands is impossible, but the backlash was only beginning. Behind closed doors, plans were being made. Legal threats, reputation, destruction, career annihilation. Adversaries thought late into the night, plotting how to smear her name to prevent others from following her example. They whispered into phones, pacing empty hallways, imagining worst-case scenarios. They could not see that every move only strengthened her resolve. She could feel the storm coming. Standing at her window one night, city lights flickering below, she whispered words that would later define her legacy. Costs me everything, let it be worth it. She didn't know how this would end. She only knew one thing. She had changed something that could never be undone, but what she didn't know, what no one told her, was that the next step would put her life in real danger. And the world was about to discover how far it would go to silence a brave woman. She spoke when silence meant death. She knew speaking the truth could ruin her life. What she didn't know was that it could end it. By the time her story reached the public, it was already too late to turn back. The truth had escaped. And once truth is free, it becomes dangerous, not to ordinary people, but to those who survive on silence. At first, it looked like progress. News outlets picked up the story. Social media exploded with debate. Strangers called her a hero. But beneath the surface, something darker was unfolding. Power never responds immediately. It waits, it watches. Then it strikes where it hurts the most. Her name became searchable. And that was the first weapon. Old photos resurfaced, private moments were twisted into headlines. Innocent mistakes from her past were repackaged as scandals. They weren't trying to disprove her, they were trying to destroy her credibility. Every brave woman in history has faced the same tactic. Because if they can make the messenger look unstable, the message dies with her. Late one evening, her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. No greeting, no introduction, just a calm male voice. You're being reckless. She stayed silent. People who keep pushing like this usually regret it. The line went dead. She stared at the phone, her heart beat loud in her ears. That was the moment she realized something terrifying. This was no longer about reputation. This was about control. From that night on, she was never alone. Cars slowed near her apartment. Strangers lingered too long. Her emails showed signs of being accessed. Paranoia crept in, but it wasn't paranoia if it was real. Friends stopped answering calls. Some told her privately, I support you, but I can't be seen with you. Fear spreads faster than courage, and silence, once broken, demands a price. She began documenting everything: dates, times, calls, threats, because brave women learn quickly. If something happens to you, your records must survive the pressure. Intensified. Legal notices arrived, vague, aggressive, expensive. Her job was under review. Her income became uncertain. Sleep disappeared at night. She replayed the same question over and over. Was it worth it? History books make bravery look clean. Reality is messier. Bravery feels lonely. It feels terrifying, and sometimes it feels stupid. One night, exhausted, she almost quit. She opened her laptop, ready to draft a statement. Not a lie, just a retreat. A carefully worded, step back. Then she read a message that changed everything. It was from a woman she had never met. Because of you, I finally told the truth about what happened to me. I was silent for 10 years. Thank you for being brave when I couldn't. Her hands shook. She wasn't alone anymore. That single message outweighed every threat, but courage always invites escalation. Days later, a story broke, but not the one she expected. A source had leaked private information about her family: addresses, names, details no journalist should have. That wasn't coincidence, that was intimidation. She understood the message clearly: we can reach anyone you love. That night, she packed a bag, not to run, but to prepare. She changed routines, avoided patterns, trusted no one fully, because silence might have been safer. But speaking had already changed too many lives to stop now. She went public again, this time not just with facts, but with fear. She told the world she was being threatened. She exposed the tactics used to silence women, and by doing so, she crossed another line. Now, it wasn't just her story, it was a warning. Power responded exactly how history predicted. They denied everything, called her paranoid, emotional, unstable. Because when a woman describes danger, the easiest response is disbelief. But the audience was listening, and something irreversible was happening. The silence that once protected powerful people was beginning to crack. Behind the scenes, decisions were being made. Decisions that would push this story into a place no one could control. And she felt it standing alone one evening. City noise humming outside, she whispered words she never thought she'd say. If they're this scared, it means the truth is bigger than me. She didn't know who would fall next. She only knew one thing: the moment she spoke when silence meant death, the world began to change. But what happened next wasn't intimidation, it was retaliation, and it would force her to make the most dangerous decision of her life. The night one woman changed history forever. History doesn't change in daylight, it changes at night, when fear and courage collide. It happened after midnight. No cameras, no speeches, no witnesses. Just one woman sitting alone staring at a screen that could change everything, or destroy her completely. By this point, the threats were no longer subtle. Stopped pretending this was about disagreement, this was about consequences. Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number again? She didn't answer. She already knew what it would say. Because when powerful systems feel exposed, they don't argue, they issue warnings. Earlier that evening, someone had slipped a message under her door. No envelope, no signature, just 6 words, printed neatly on white paper. You've gone far enough. Stop. Her hands shook, not because she wanted to stop, but because she knew what came next if she didn't. That night, she had something they feared, something that could not be erased, something that would echo far beyond that night, something that would remind the world that one woman could make a difference, something that would inspire generations yet unborn and ignite the quiet fire in every girl who had ever been told to sit down and be quiet.